Hello and good evening. Welcome to another episode of 10 Minutes with TmFal. This one is called The Similarities End There. Again, the similarities end there. Where do they end? They end with the same houses on the block, the same Facebook pics, the same outfits, makeup, the same kids, the same class pics, all of that. What that means is, yeah, you could live on the same block with someone and all have the same type homes. You could have the same Facebook type pics of vacations. You could have the same outfits. There's something we do in Nigerian culture, like especially Yorubas and Igbos, something we call Ashrebi, where we wear the same outfits for events. We coordinate our outfits. And sometimes we look exactly the same with the same outfits, sometimes with the same type of makeup. But it's important to know that the similarities end there. Why is this important? Because a lot of times we assume a lot. We compare, pictures and compare homes and compare things. And when we do that, we stop appreciating what we have. We overextend ourselves. We compare ourselves, which we know from the famous quote, comparison is a thief of joy. And that leaves us tired. It leaves us wanting more always. It leaves us feeling not as great. And it leaves us feeling like we're not where we need to be because we're comparing ourselves all the time. So yes, you may live on the same block with someone. And it seems like, well, if they can go on 2 vacations, why can't we? Well, it's important to know that the similarities end on the outside. Just like there's so much going on, we actually know that there's more that we know. There's more that we don't know than we do know. So when we see the same photos, everybody looks the same, we're living on the same block, there's a lot more that we don't know about what's going on behind closed doors. So you see that couple that always seems to be like they have the best vacations ever. What you don't know is what's going on behind closed doors in terms of the kind of relationship they have. When you see people who seem like they're always upgrading their kitchen and getting new cars, we don't know how much debt they have. You also don't know how much they have in assets or something that's been willed to them. You see somebody at your job who seems like, well, you make the same salary. How come they have all this stuff? You have no idea if they have generational wealth, what kind of legacy they have, or if they have no plans for ever paying for their kids' college or funding their own retirement. So when you compare based on face value, we're missing out the critical part that what we see on the outside is what people put on the outside. And if you think about it, we're comparing people's best to whatever our own insecurities are. So when people post their best photos from vacations and looking great, we're looking at that right there in the living room when we're in the middle of homework and getting work done. So it's important to know that we really don't have to do that, and that because we all look similar on the outside doesn't tell us anything. So you have a college kid who's out there going out all the time with her friends, buying drinks all the time. Well, you don't have to do that because one person in that group may have their whole college paid for and their first 2 jobs already set because they're going to work for their family company. You have another kid whose parents are paying for stuff, but on a loan. You have another kid who has debt up to the gills just to be able to go to college. If you're really just kind of keeping up with everyone and thinking this is a way to go, you're just getting yourself into more debt and more debt. So we assume a lot when we assume that just because we're all dressed the same and we live on the same block, we have similar jobs, that we're all the same. We don't know what's going on. We also don't know what people's comfort levels are. So you may have a huge aversion to debt, but you keep doing these things because you want to keep up. Somebody else may be okay with debt. They can go to bed and sleep for 8-9 hours, knowing they owe hundreds of thousands of dollars. We don't know that. So really, you have to stay comfortable what you're comfortable with. If someone keeps asking you to be part of a group that buys outfits for each event, and you're doing events every other week or every month, if you can afford it and it makes you feel good, sure. If you can't afford it, you got to say, I need to speak my truth and say, you know what? That extra $50 or $100 every month, I could put to better use. Or I really don't have that dispensable income, but I want to be part of the group. And figure out if these are your friends, they should understand. And if they don't understand, well, maybe it's not really a friendship, or it's not as deep a friendship as you thought. And if you feel like the only way you can conform is to be part of the group by wearing the same outfit, even if you can't afford it, that says a lot about the kind of friendship. And a lot of times we've just never said that. We've never said, hey, I can't afford this, or I really need to put this money into something else. And most times friends will understand. And believe it or not, sometimes people just need one person to break the cycle to say, hey, wow, we don't really need to all do this all the time. Just wear what you have and we'll hang out, because what's important is our friendship. Same thing goes for college kids or young people in the workforce. If everything is about let's go out and spend money, sometimes you just need one person to say, you know what, I'm trying to save for my first home or my first car, or I'm paying back loans, so I really can't afford to hang out with you guys all the time. How about when it's my turn, you guys come over to my place, we'll figure something out. And sometimes that cycle breaks and people then decide to have home parties and do potlucks instead of going out all the time. Sometimes you just need to break the cycle. But that comes with being able to say the similarities end there. So when we all go out and we put out those credit cards we're splitting stuff at, $100 each time, each person puts in $100. For somebody, the $100 is part of their dispensable income. For somebody, they've budgeted it out, so they know they have this amount of money for extras. For some people, that $100 comes out of a credit card that they haven't paid for. For some, it's a loan that they owe. For some, they don't even think about it. So it's really important to know why you're doing things. And if it's important to know that everybody who slaps down that credit card doesn't feel the same way about where that $100 or $2,000 or whatever it is came from. So this is really important to know, that the similarities end with the pecs and the home on the block. We assume a lot. We assume that we're all on the same footing, which we're not. We end up comparing ourselves, which leaves us, feeling inadequate or inferior. We stop appreciating the things that we have. We overextend ourselves. We compare ourselves to other people all the time, and we do this for things. We look at marriages or couples and we call them #couple goals. Well, that's not always accurate, because we don't know what happens behind closed doors. You don't know what kind of relationship they have. We don't know what kind of agreements they've come up with. All we see is that when they're outside, they seem pretty affectionate. Well, we don't know. We talk about vacations and outfits. We don't know. You see people go on vacation. You see their photos on Facebook. You feel inferior. Well, you don't know if that vacation is on a debt. You don't know if they've really saved up for that and they're really good with that vacation, and that's awesome. You don't know if that was paid for by a grandparent. It may have been a work-related trip. So let's not compare and let's not assume. If you can't afford something, don't let the fact that other people who seem to be on your block are doing the same thing. We don't know what else people have going on, what they've planned for. You see somebody in class, in your new yoga class, who seems to be holding the poses and doing these amazing things. You don't know. This person may have been practicing yoga for 20 years. They may have a personal instructor. You don't know. So when you walk in there, you do your thing, you do your best. So never assume, because what we see is only a tip of what is really going on. And people have different things that they have put in place. So when you see them, don't compare yourselves, and know that the similarities end there. Even if you're wearing the same outfit, the same makeup artist, There's a whole range of disparity in what's going on behind the scenes and what comfort levels are. So I end this by saying, instead of comparing ourselves, let's realize that, one, use yourself as a starting point. Always aiming to be your best self and your best self every day. No one posts their worst. So look at yourself and aim to be your best self. Two is appreciate what you have. Because when you do that, you're less likely to compare yourself to others. So appreciate what you have. Three is to speak your truth, your comfort. So if there are things that you've been doing or engaging in, spending money on, things that you're not comfortable with, you can't afford, you really don't want to, speak your truth and be comfortable with that. And people who value and appreciate your friendship will be your friend regardless. And four, realize that sometimes somebody just needs to break the cycle to say, I can't afford this. How about we do things a certain different way? So this ends by saying the similarities end there. There's more behind the scenes than what we see on the outside. Don't compare yourselves to others. Be your best self. Speak your truth and realize you may just be that person that breaks that cycle. So this has been 10 Minutes with TmFal. Thank you for listening.